Welcome to Spoken Like a True Goddess podcast, a space curated for goddesses worldwide. The woman who's strong on the inside, which affords her to be soft, warm, and alluring on the outside. The woman who uses power sourced from above to create the life she wants because she's capable and deserving. So relax, open your minds and your hearts, and let's have some much needed girl talk. I'm your host, Shekinah, and this is Spoken Like a True Goddess podcast. Hi guys, it's Shekinah, and welcome to Spoken Like a True Goddess podcast. I'm so happy for you all to be tuning in. I hope that everyone's doing well and feeling great. So today's topic, single mom soft life, is something that's very dear to me. I think it's really important to talk about how you can use your feminine energy to have a more enjoyable experience while raising your kids. I feel like single mothers have a really bad rep, which doesn't make much sense because you're the one who's making the sacrifices and you're the one who's stepping up to the plate and doing what needs to be done. But I feel a lot of negativity comes with that. But you can have a very enjoyable experience if you're intentional about making your life soft, right? It does take a lot of intention because I'm not going to sit up here and act like it's not a burden to have to carry that, knowing that everything falls on your shoulders. If anything goes off course, it falls on you. That is heavy. But there is still a way to go about it to live a balanced life of ease and flow. Most of you may not know, but I am a mother to a wonderful 6-year-old boy. And although I was very briefly married to his father, it's been pretty much me and my son since he's been 6 months old. So you can imagine the journey, the shock that comes along with that. No one really plans on being a single mother. And yeah, there's many circumstances that get you to that point, but no one plans for it. I know me specifically, I didn't, because I've always wanted to be a mother. Ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to live that soccer mom life where I just had about 4 kids and I just really poured into my family. I had a very supportive partner. Like, that's always been my dream. But life happens and it didn't turn out that way. But I was so determined to still live the life that I had imagined, regardless of my marital status. One monkey don't stop no show, okay? So when it comes to single moms, it's broken up into 2 categories. There are women who are unmarried and have children, right? But although there's not a father in the home, they have a partner where they can depend on a monthly allowance or child support, which they could budget in and run their household that way. Or they could depend on the father doing pickup and drop off, or they could depend on the father going to have the kids a certain amount of time and things like that. Where it's like, okay, yeah, this person isn't in a home, but we share some responsibilities, or I can at least depend and know that he's going to be consistent and uphold his end of the bargain. That's one thing. So that's just a mom whose marital status is single, right? But then there's also a category of women who you don't have that support, or it's not consistent, and you can't really depend on okay, I'm going to get this amount of money so I can budget this in this way. Or, okay, I can do this and I know that my kid's going to get picked up on time and dropped off. Or just that support. You don't really have that. So that is more in alignment with what I had to deal with. And I was still able to create a very balanced life, although I was put in a really uncomfortable situation. Like I said, that was not planned, right? So I'm going to break this down into a three-part series where I share three areas I focused on to create a balanced and soft motherhood experience. When I was in the trenches of single motherhood, I was searching for content to help me through those difficult times. And I hope by me sharing authentically, I can help someone like so many other women helped me. When I first became a single mother, or not even before I physically became a single mother, I knew that this was not going to work. I had an idea that this was not a situation that was going to be healthy for me and my son. With that came a lot of shame. And I was so shameful to be a single mother. In my mind, in my heart, I really was trying to work it out. But to what extent? That was my thing. Like, what am I going to sacrifice to make this work out? And what I would have had to sacrifice that would have made me even more miserable. So when I physically decided, okay, girl, you're going to have to do this, it took a very long time. I wouldn't even say it took a long time, but it was a journey to get to that point of, okay, now my life is balanced. Like now I could say I'm happy. I'm living a soft life, basically. There was three main areas I put a lot of emphasis on to achieve that. Those areas are mindset, money, and men. But I have a little story time before we get into those three parts. When I met my son's father, I was casually dating this guy who I was really fond of, right? But keep in mind, at this point in my life, I knew what I wanted. I was ready to get married. I was ready to have my family. And the guy who I was really fond of, he just wasn't there. He wasn't ready at that time. So I met my son's father, and he seemed to be ready. So naturally, and I remember when I was making that decision, I'm like, okay, because I will say we had a whirlwind type of relationship. Everything did happen kind of fast. But when I got into the situation with him, I was very transparent. I was very open about what I wanted, and they seemed to be in alignment with what he wanted. So I remember when I made that decision, like, okay, I'm not going to be with the guy that I'm really fond of. I'm going to be with him because we seem to be more in alignment. And also, he seemed to have a character of someone who I could partner with, right? To be transparent, he wasn't the person I loved the most in this world. Like, he wasn't, oh, my one and true love. But from our conversations and things, it seemed like we had our life goals were in alignment. And how he presented himself, I felt very comfortable with his character because he was very giving of himself. Like he was a great friend. He was always there for his friends. He was always there for me. I remember specifically saying, like, this is going kind of fast, but worst case scenario, if things don't work out with us, I know he's going to take care of his child, because I'm seeing his character, I'm seeing how he is with other people, right? I specifically remember saying that. That was like my deciding factor. So, okay, me and the other guy, we stopped talking, which that was not an easy breakup. And that that's a whole nother story. But that wasn't the easiest break. But I was very confident in my decision. So that's where mindset comes in because when everything went to hell, I was so shameful. I was so shameful. I'm like, how did I make such a bad decision? Like, how did I have two men in front of me and specifically pick the wrong one? Like, girl, you had a 50-50 chance. Like, how did you choose so bad? And that was the thing that was just haunting me. You have to also remember we actually separated when my son was only 6 months. So I was deep in postpartum depression. So I was truly, truly going through it. I was really at rock bottom. I was so broken that I just started seeking and just praying on my own and reading my Bible. This gets me into my first point. The true and the only way to live a soft life in general, but especially a soft life as a single mom who feels she's been wrong or who's heartbroken, is forgiveness. There's no way around it. You have to first forgive yourself. That's where the real work comes in. Once you have that compassion for yourself and you're able to forgive yourself, then it's much easier to forgive others and have compassion for them. But if you can't even forgive yourself, if you can't even give yourself a break and give yourself that compassion, then there's no way. And also, forgiveness isn't something that's easy. It's not really something that you could do on your own strength. It's something that you really have to submit yourself to God and really ask Him to renew your heart and clean your heart in order to truly forgive. I know for me, when I started going back to church and I was meeting other women and really just trying to get myself together, that's where it really changed for me when I was able to stop being shameful about picking wrong. Oh, I was driving myself crazy with that. Always like, oh, you picked wrong, you picked wrong, you put y'all in this situation. I was just beating myself up. But when I had compassion for myself and say, hey, it happened, at that time, I felt it was the best decision and I went and did what I thought was best. And it's not. So now from this point, what can I do? And just forgave myself and just let it go. There are two scriptures that I want to share that hopefully you can meditate on that can help you soften your heart to begin that journey of forgiveness. Psalms 51:10 and Romans 12:2. I hope that it can help you and bless you like it blessed me. Now, the next point when it comes to mindset is you really have to relax in your feminine. You have to not feed into that paradigm of, okay, I'm a single mom. I have to be mom and dad. I have to do it all. Did it? No. Yes, there is a certain responsibility that comes with being the sole parent, but there is a way you can do it from a feminine perspective that's empowering. Don't try to be mom and dad. That was one thing when I decided, okay, I'm about to do this, and I seen that I wasn't going to get the support that I thought I would. I just focused on being a really good mom. Like, there's nothing I can do to be a dad. Nothing. I'll never be a good dad because I'm not a man. I'm a woman. So let me just focus on being a good, warm, and open mother. And just because the dad isn't present or he isn't doing what he's supposed to do doesn't mean you have to take on that burden. And then now the kid doesn't have a present mom or a present dad because you're trying to do two people's job. No, just do your own job really well. In my home, I'm just a mom. There's nothing I could do to teach you to be a man. I could just be a good mom. And the areas that I fall short in, which are those areas of just those more masculine things, I outsource. Okay, so I have a son. He's full of energy, testosterone. He's a boy. I'm not going to go toe to toe with him. I'm going to be a good mother. And in those areas, I just outsource. So what I mean by outsource is get them into martial arts, things that could teach them how to be men, how to be disciplined, and those things that you just don't know because you're not a man, you're a woman. And it eases you up in that responsibility or that burden of, oh, I have to be mom and dad. I have to do it all. And I'm mom and dad. No, just be mom. Just be a really good mom. Be soft, be warm, be open, be nurturing. Just be a mom. And in those areas that you do need a little bit more reinforcement, outsource. And I'm not saying to just let your house run crazy and not have rules and the kids not have responsibilities because that's usually something that a dad can reinforce. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is specifically for women raising men, we will never be able to be dad. We'll never be able to truly teach them how to be a man. And yeah, we can instill things from a woman's point of view, but we'll never truly understand what it's like to be a man because we're not men. So in those areas, outsource, get them around positive examples of men, get them around like safe, responsible men. And also when it comes to relaxing and you're feminine, you really have to pour into yourself. You can't always pour into your children and neglect yourself because if you're not good, they're not good. If you're running on E, things are not going to run well. So you have to pour into yourself. I remember in those early years, and I'm still trying to figure everything out, I was just being ran raggedy. I didn't have any real structure. I was still trying to, organize our life and things like that. And I was just depleted. I was always on E. I will wake up when my son woke up and go to sleep when he went to sleep. Like I didn't have any time just for myself to put myself together. And I was unconsciously falling into that mindset of, okay, as long as my kid is okay, as long as my kid is okay. And that's really not a good mindset to have because if you're not okay, they're not going to be okay. So before I had my son, I would always make sure I had makeup on. I would always make sure I looked put together, always make sure my hair is done, my nails are done. But when I had my son, those things were being neglected. And it wasn't until he was about 1 that I even noticed, to be honest. I challenged myself and I had my best friends and my sister hold me accountable. And basically, how I challenged myself was to get dressed every day, look put together every single day for 30 days. And I would send my friends a picture of myself every day to hold me accountable. That really helped me get into the groove of pouring back into myself. I was much happier. It helped me get a better routine. And I just felt better about myself. If you're not happy, your kids are not happy. And there was a study done that showed the impact that maternal happiness had on the outcome of kids or how it impacted kids. emotional stability, social skills, and self-regulation. It show the impact that a mother's happiness have on her children. And that also helped me when it came to that shame of, oh, a two-parent household and things like that, which I strongly and wholeheartedly believe in traditional families. I think that is beautiful. I think it's great. And it is something I'm still striving towards. But in the study, it showed even with married couples, the mother's happiness directly affects the children, and it affects it at a higher rate than the father's happiness on the children. It's about 50 pages, 50, 60 pages. It's a really good read. So, yeah, so mindset, you have to forgive, you have to pour into yourself, relax in your feminine, do what you can do as a mother. Just focus on being a very good mother. And when you do those things, everything will fall into place. Change your mindset from this sacrificial, oh, I'm a single mom, I got to get it out the mud, I got to, like, change your mindset from that to a more relaxed and open state, a more trusting state that everything's going to work out, everything's fine, I'm okay, my kids are okay, everything is okay. And like that study showed, it really affects your children's happiness too. Them seeing you stressed out and mad all the time and overworked, and that doesn't do any good for anybody. And also, when it comes to being a single mom and raising my son, what gives me a lot of comfort is another verse. I'll be in my Bible, okay? But another verse, which is Psalm 68:5. A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation. That really blessed me because when it comes to raising my boy, and when I get overwhelmed and thinking like he's lacking something or missing something, that scripture always comes to my heart because God's just going to have to be his father. Okay. And also, as single mothers, we're also considered widows in this scripture, and he's a defender of the widows. Because if our children's father wants to act dead, then okay, fine, we're widows and God will take care of us. We fall under that umbrella, okay? Another area is abundance. So having an abundant mindset and knowing that you have everything that you need and what you don't have will eventually be provided helps a ton. I remember, and this was recently, maybe just last year, but the holidays were always hard for me. And it wasn't until last year that I really felt comfortable and content in it. But it was always really hard because I felt like we were missing out on something. It's like I said, I've always wanted to be a mother. So I've always had this dream of how my life should be. And the holidays just trigger that really bad. And I feel like, okay, it's just me and my son, and he don't have any siblings, and like we don't have that traditional family that I want to give to him. But it was last year that I just got so much comfort in knowing that it's okay. Like, I'm not missing out on anything. I have everything I need, and this is my family. Yeah, maybe it's not how I thought it should be, but this is my family and it is enough. So we can create traditions. We can have fun and do all the holiday things. We don't have to hold back or wait. Okay, when these things happen, when we do have a father in a home, when I do have more siblings for him, then we can create these traditions. No, like this is my family and it is enough. And we can still have fun and partake in everything we would if things were exactly how I thought they should be. Some other areas to focus on to create that balance and soft life as a single mom is to identify your village and take inventory of those that are in your life and who are willing to help. And if you don't have a strong village at this point, look for other ways to get assistance with your children from safe, reliable sources, of course. But you don't want to get to a point where you're burnt out, where you're overworked, where you're overstimulated, because that just makes the experience so uncomfortable. So even if you get a gym membership that has childcare, at least for a couple of hours, your kid could be somewhere they could, be social with other kids, and then you have some time for yourself. And what I like about the gym membership is you don't always have to go there to work out. You could bring your favorite shower products and take a nice shower and just get into the hot tub, get into the sauna, just do more relaxing things while your kids are at the childcare there. Also, drop in childcare. So let's say you want to have brunch with your friends and you don't have any childcare. In some cities, they have drop in childcare where you could drop your kid off for a couple hours while you go and do what you have to do. The bottom line is to identify your village and get assistance and get your children into things where you're not the only person doing everything and you have that time for yourself. I know sometimes as mothers, especially in those earlier stages and when we're trying to still figure things out, we feel like we have to do it all. Like if it doesn't get done, it's going to fall on us. And sometimes when we get into that mindset, it's almost like we're punishing ourselves. We're working so hard to do everything. No, I can't depend on anyone and things like that. And then we in return get burnt out. So you want to be careful that you're not punishing yourself because of the situation that you're in or feeling like you have to do everything because of the situation that you're in. There are also options to not run you raggedy and to still have your household and your family running well. I remember when I was in that stage, my sister would bring that up to me. She's like, it's almost like you're punishing yourself. You're trying to do everything. You're not really reaching out for help and things like that, as if I was almost punishing myself. And when I sat and think about it, I'm like, yeah, I think I was. So you just want to be mindful of that. And that also goes back to where I said shifting from that paradigm of being sacrificial and thinking you have to sacrifice to get things done, or thinking that being sacrificial is noble, especially if you have daughters. Our children are looking at us, at everything we do. And we don't want to raise our daughters, especially, to think it's okay to be sacrificial. As women, we already have that in us. Like, okay, yeah, my mom did this. You don't want to pass that down to your daughters. With boys, they're going to find a way to tap into their selfishness. They'll be fine. But with girls, naturally, we're very giving, we're very sacrificial. You want to be mindful of not teaching your daughters subconsciously they have to perform and work and do for others in order to be worthy. Also, another great thing for your mindset as a single mom is to get around women who enjoy being mothers and to get around women who are in healthy relationships and have that support from men. It's good to have your time alone and away from your kids, but when you are connected to women who also like being mothers, who like doing play dates and who like getting together, take the kids to the movies, it makes the experience more enjoyable. It makes motherhood more enjoyable. It doesn't make you feel like an island. And even when you are out with your children, you have another adult while they're off doing their thing. You could talk and bounce things off of and things of that nature. and also being around women who are in healthy relationships and have support from their partner, it is great because when we are single mothers and we're not having that support, any little support we get from men, like as we start dating and things like that, we're going to think it's such a huge deal. But women who are in healthy relationships with men, that's just so normal to them. So it keeps you balanced. One, saying, oh, hey, there is men who enjoy being fathers and who are supportive. It's just that my situation is abnormal, but that's not the norm. There are men who are supportive and family men. So that kind of gets your mind going, okay, there's still hope for you. And secondly, when you do feel comfortable to start dating again, it keeps your standards high and it keeps them in check. So when men do come into your life, you're not accepting the bare minimum because you're so used to doing everything on your own. It still keeps your standards high because you're seeing, okay, well, my friend gets help with nighttime routine all the time. That's normal. Or whatever assistance that she gets from having a supportive partner, it's always in the forefront. It's not that your situation is the norm because being a single mother without support is so abnormal. And we want to have that remain that way. We don't ever want to normalize that. It's abnormal for a parent to not be in their child's life is abnormal. And there are women who are in normal situations and healthy situations. And we want to keep that at the forefront of our minds and never settle for less than that when we do feel comfortable enough to start dating. Because as single moms, we're so used to doing things on our own. Like I know me, for example, when I'm talking to different women who are in more supportive relationships and they're like, oh yeah, dad does nighttime routine, or oh yeah, dad's cooking dinner tonight, or we're going out. Oh yeah, dad's with the kids. And I'm just like, wow, like that's amazing. Especially for me, I'm not a night person. So if I had someone to help me with nighttime routine, like that would be amazing. But it's normal. So as I'm dating, I'm still keeping my standards high of saying, yes, those things will be great, of course, but it's normal. I don't have to put someone on a pedestal for doing what they should do if they're coming into a woman's life who has kids, right? Having women in your life who enjoy being mothers so you all could do fun things with the kids, and also women who are in healthy relationships with their child's father, it does a lot for your psyche. The final part I want to speak about regarding mindset is routine, structure, and discipline. You have to have these things in order to live balanced and harmonious as a mother. I'll be the first to admit when I first got married and then I was rapidly becoming a mother, it was overwhelming. I was not prepared. Like many people, right? You could think in your mind all day of how it would be, but when that baby gets here, it's totally different. And I struggled a lot. I was so used to living in my own space and it just being me. And then all of a sudden, I was living with a man, and I've never lived with a man before. And I was pregnant. I'm trying to get things in order for that. And it was just overwhelming. But throughout the years, I really created a routine that works for us. And I will say, although I'm not married, having this routine and these disciplines has made me into a wife. I'm a much better wife now being unmarried because I was just a girl. I had a girl mindset. I didn't have this mindset of caring for other people and able to balance that. And my routine over the years, fine-tuning it, and obviously God working on my heart to have the capacity to be able to love and forgive and all those fun things you need to partner up and be a wife. But I can say that I'm much more prepared now than I was before. Me and my son, we live such a structured life. I do not like deviating from our schedules and our plans. Like, it works for us. And like I was saying earlier, there was one point in our journey where we would wake up at the same time and go to sleep at the same time. And that was not good for me. So now I wake up hours, well, maybe like an hour and a half before my son. And in that time, I'm praying, creating like a calm atmosphere for us. I'm making his lunch for the school day and his snacks. I'm getting myself together. I'm getting myself ready. I'm able to do that peacefully and quietly, like just take that time in the morning where no one's up, where it's quiet, to really pour into myself. And then once he's up, okay, I'm already filled up. Well, that's all I have for today. Next week, we're going to get into the second part of the Single Mom Soft Life series, which is money. We'll go over ways to keep your life soft and your finances in order while being a great mother. So we'll talk next week. Bye. That's all for today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed. If you love Spoken Like a True Goddess podcast, leave a rating and a review on the podcast app that you're tuning in on. I would love to hear from you. Be sure to follow us on all socials at Spoken Like a True Goddess. Also, if you would like sisterly advice from me, email your questions to sltgadvice@gmail.com. It will be answered on the pod with love and discretion, of course. Well, I'm excited for our next Girl Talk. Talk soon. Bye.